Hi, I'm Chad Winters, North American product trainer for Husqvarna. High RPM is Husqvarna's mentality. Let the saw do the work for you. And part of that process requires that you do some chain maintenance and that you're using a quality Sharpen chain. And one of the things that you guys have is our little file kit. And in that file kit, you have 2 round files, and you have a flat file for the top of the cutter teeth, an interchangeable handle, and then your combi gauge itself. And basically the process, till you kind of get used to doing it and you're good at it, you can sharpen a chain in 20 minutes or so. That first one might take you 45 minutes as you're kind of learning, because you're doing two separate things. We are sharpening the cutter itself, which you have to do from each side because you have a left-hand cutter and then a right-hand cutter. So you're coming from the inside of the cutter out. So you would take your round file and put it in your handle, lay it on the rollers, and the rollers are designed to then give you that depth that as you're going through, that keeps you at the proper depth, and the actual angle of the handle when lined up with the bar is what gives you the proper angle with the proper depth. So as you're going through, you're just filing off any imperfections. Hitting dirt, hitting some imperfection in the wood could cause a little damage to the chrome on the chain. You can actually see the little nicks and the cracks in it, and what you're doing is you're removing those imperfections by filing. Some people kind of do a little twist as they do it, but the design of this file is actually, it takes off more material with less effort than a standard round file. So you can find all sorts of round files on the market, but our intense cut file has actually got a certain pattern to the grooves that's designed to remove more material with less motion, so that you're servicing it quicker and getting back into the field faster, which increases my productivity, and we go back to that professional mentality. So the first step that we're doing is that process of the cutter itself and getting the depth and the angle set. And then what you come back and do with the flat file is you are doing the top of the cutter, because the top of the cutter has a tooth on it that you want to make sure you're keeping that, not only that profile and on your depth gauge, but the top angle of the cutter tooth, you want to make sure that that doesn't have any broken piece or jagged edge. You want that nice, clean, straight leading edge. Your depth gauge is in the process of a tooth turning through. The depth gauge is what sets the corner of the cutter, and then the rest of those angles that you just filed are what actually shaves and removes the wood, and the space in between is where the sawdust travels out of the kerf with that chain. So it's a little bit of a process, but all of the pieces that are required are all in the package together. But it's certainly something that anybody at home can do to maintain their chain, get longer life out of their chain, until they get to the point where there is a minimum and maximum mark on there that once you grind that chain back so far, then it's time to replace it, because you've gotten to the minimum amount of material that's left.